This is how I recorded all of the monkey sound effects just in front of this mic. How do I start this? I wanted to make this video because I feel like other people face this as well. And I'm sure from the title you can tell that why it took me 2 years, almost 2 years, to finish this just dumb, funny short film that I made in college. Well, half the answer is I got lazy, No, I didn't get lazy. I kind of, it wasn't at the very top of my priorities list for most of that 2 years. The summer right after we shot it, I was very, very motivated. I was editing like every night, but at the same time, my day job was editing. So I would edit for like 8 hours, and then I'd come home and I'd try and edit the project for fun for like another 2 or 3 hours, and it just ended up being a lot of time in front of a screen. And so you'd kind of get burnt out from editing during the workday, and then you try and come home and get more editing done, and it wasn't the best. That's kind of the unfortunate thing about making the thing you love your career, is that sometimes you kind of lose a little bit of the joy in it. And obviously working in any film for me is more fun than any other job. But if you're doing something all day and then you try and do it for fun, it becomes a little bit less fun. I wouldn't say all the way. I still really enjoy working on personal projects. Probably the biggest reason, though, that it took from spring of 2023 to January of 2025 to finish this short film. It's a phenomenon that I experienced personally, and I'm sure other people do, where kind of right after you finish something, you're in that honeymoon phase. You're like, wow, this thing is great that I just made, and I'm so proud of it. And obviously, there's a few things that aren't perfect, but for the most part, you're really proud of it. And then, you give it like a couple months, couple more months, just steadily over the course of time, you start to kind of see its flaws more and more, and you kind of see what's wrong with it more than what's right with it. The honeymoon phase kind of dies off. Start to feel all that after every project. But for this project, I never actually finished it, and I started feeling that. So I got like 80% done with the edit, let's say, and then 6 months pass where I don't work on it. And then I come back to it, and I don't feel as excited about it as, you did before, because you start seeing more of the flaws. And there were some pretty big flaws in this project. I mean, it was just a fun project to do with friends. Like, let's get goofy. Let's get some wacky ideas in here. Like, what can we make? But, we didn't have a ton of time to work on it. We weren't doing it for class. We were just doing it for fun. So all the shoots were outside of class time on weekends when people may or may not be able to make it. And we didn't have access to all the gear that we usually have. So, some scenes weren't lit very well, and other scenes we only had an hour to film it, but really we needed more like 3 or 4. The other big factor is just how ambitious it was. It was like a 35 page script, so it was going to be about 30 minutes always, and that may not sound like a lot when you do like a 10-minute short film and you're like, wow, okay, that was pretty feasible, but three times that in length doesn't equal 3 times the work. I would say it's exponentially more work the longer a short film you do, because it's just more moving parts, more moving pieces, and the edit just takes significantly longer to put something like that together. And on top of that, it had a lot of visual effects in it that it's not that I didn't know how to do, I just hadn't done them yet. And I didn't quite know how I was going to do them. So, for example, the shot of Criminal Puncher getting punched like into orbit. Initially, I was thinking I was going to get a photo scan of the guy who played Criminal Puncher, Andrew, but he ended up moving away before I could do that. And so I was like, okay, I'm just going to 3D model him myself. And I am not a 3D modeler. I put together pieces. I kind of throw some janky animation together. I retexture things, and I render them. And I just kind of make it work. I'm by no means an expert when it comes to that type of visual effects, especially not animation and modeling. I just kind of make do. And probably the last reason that it took so long is because since I'd shot it and, thrown a bunch of it together in an edit, I'd actually changed my workflow and gotten better at color grading and editing. So then when I'd open the project back up, I'd be like, this isn't quite up to standard anymore. So I'd redo the whole thing. I'd go back through and recolor every shot and retrack things and redo things. Then when I would revisit the edit every 3 to 6 months, I wouldn't be making much progress forward. I would just be redoing the stuff I had already done. At a certain point, you just have to finish the project, and that's what I finally did. So I came back this most recent time to work on it, and I only had probably 5 or 6 shots left to finish. But I told myself I was only going to spend a week updating things. So there's things, color grades and techniques that I wouldn't do anymore, but I'm not going to go back and change them. I just want, to finish the project. I think it is what it's supposed to be. It's a funny short film that we made as friends, and, we had fun with it. Usually I crank out an edit of projects like that in 3 weeks, and then they're completely finished in a month and a half. So this was definitely the outlier in all the work that I've done, and I'd like to keep it that way. I'd like to not do this again, not because I hated it or anything, but just because it's not as productive. For the right project, I could see myself taking up to a year working on something, just if I know I'm doing it on the side and it has a lot of work to do. But learning from this experience, I would do it differently. I would discipline myself a little bit more to standardize a workflow and then stick to it, even if I learn something new, not go back and change everything, just stay the course, try and take more time while shooting to get things right so that, it doesn't take longer on the back end to fix all the mistakes. But that's it. Thank you, and enjoy Spider Puncher 2.